book nerds, welcome to another Instagram live session. And as I promised you in the last session, it will be super interesting. We are hosting the amazing Mita Kapur, who has written a couple of books. Hello.
Hi.
Great, great, great. So I was just about to tell everyone about the two books, and uh, we went live a couple of days back with a completely different genre. But I was super excited for this one particularly because, of course, it is the F word. Guys, don't misunderstand it, but it is it is something else. I think so. After reading the books, there is something common, between us, and that would be the F word, that is food. And totally loved the two books. Okay, let me tell everyone about the books first, and then I introduce the author. The first one is called The F Word, of course. I've been, rambling about it. And another one is Chillies and Porridge, which is again an essay about food and super interesting, quite different from the first one. Let me tell you guys who are not aware about what Mitaji does. Uh, she's of course an author. She's a leading literary consultant. She runs Siyahi, which is just amazing what they do for authors in Southeast Asia, the entire subcontinent. Of course, Mita ji has produced the Mountain Echoes Festival in Bhutan. Right now, she is the literary director of the JCB Prize. She's a freelance journalist. A lot of other things. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
Not at all. I think it's a great honor for me to be able to join everyone here today, especially on this hot. I don't know what kind of temperatures are we facing, but it's a big relief to just be indoors and chatting up with people like you. And also, I'm seeing a lot of people have joined, so thank you for having me.
Totally worth it, because I was reading the book and I was telling my wife, okay, how do I control my diet after this? That was the first question for me. And I've been reading, like, post pandemic, I've been reading a lot of cookbooks, and but I was finding it hard to kind of put the F word in a box. Whether it's a cookbook, whether it's a lot of things. I mean, there was no such a format, and I suppose it came out in 2015, if I'm not wrong, or or earlier, is it?
10,
What?
2010.
10.
2010.
Okay. Yeah, so back then, coming up with a book which has kind of multiple genres, how did you come up with it, first of all? Because back then it must have been kind of tough pitching this to a lot of people.
Actually, it wasn't. It was just something. See, I'm as a person a very spontaneous, impulsive person, so I've never followed. I don't want to be boxed. Hence, my book also can't be boxed. And when I discussed it with my editor, and I floated the idea to her at HarperCollins, she jumped at it. I said, "You haven't even seen the writing." So she said, "Don't worry. I've seen enough of your writing in the various newspapers and magazines that you write for, and I know your passion for food. So go right ahead and write it out and send some chapters to me when they're ready." But I had my contract in hand even before that. So I was very, very blessed and lucky to have found an editor who believed in me. And that's Kartika, uh, that time with HarperCollins. But yeah, it was fun. For me, it was just a blast. Writing
Yes.
the book. I must tell you that when I wrote the first three, like when I picked up once again to start writing it out seriously, and I looked at I read what I had written earlier, like the first two or three chapters, I literally trashed the book myself, and as I was so depressed for the next 1 week or so, and I said, this is not the way to get published. I don't know what crap I've written. I don't know what I'm thinking. And then after some time, I said, listen, you बड़े बड़े भाषण देती हो अपने authors को, about going back to the drawing board, about rewriting, about reworking, reimagining. So what are you doing right now? So I kind of spanked myself on my bum and I said, get up, stand up, rise to it, and write the whole thing again.
Wow.
And then, yes. So, yeah, because you've got to walk the talk, right? You're a literary agent and you're hand holding with your authors. So you need to put your money where your mouth is, and which I took a reality check and I started writing all over again after scrapping the whole thing. And so, yeah, but then I just gave in to my impulsiveness and let my first draft just come out I the way I just wanted to, the way I'm speaking to you is how I wrote.
Get to the food. We are here for kind. Was the writing, but in the F word, I was see, I am half like Lucknowi, so I got attracted to this. So I'll quote from the book. I was slowly beginning to understand what a friend had wisely told me. Lucknow ki nazakat tehzeeb is a delicacy in itself. The food here had a subtle way of conquering you with its sensual appeal, just as Lucknowi tehzeeb, commonly joked about as the pehle aap culture and so on. And you go on to discuss kebabs. Kebab wo hota hai jo muंह में रखे और slip हो जाए. And this is so important, and at the core of how one has to cook a good kebab and at home, because we all struggle with that. We eventually go to Swiggy or Zomato to order them. So tell us a little bit more about this one.
No, actually, when I was researching and I was literally like roaming the streets of Lucknow, meeting with old chefs and talking to them. And this is the kebab wo jo muंह में रखो slip हो जाए is one of the older chefs, one of the senior most people that I met, and he was talking to me इतने मजे से. No, it takes a lot of practice for sure, but if you get into feeling the food that you're making, if you touch it, you understand it, you kind of fuse with the ingredients and you let them speak to you. If you just put yourself wholeheartedly into what you're doing, it does come together. And I'm kind of wincing at the fact that you're depending on Swiggy and Zomato to get your kebabs. Just get your hands dirty in the kitchen.
I will have to, because I never thought that it could be done at home, because I was just struggling with the curries, So I will do it because I mean I'm decent now, so I will definitely try it. And a major part of the book is the memoir of it all, and it was so enjoyable. Go read kind of reading between the lines. Sometimes there is emotion also going on. There's a point in time where your daughter is leaving for college, and you are like it's a lot to for everyone, obviously. But tell us a bit more about that part, because that's also kind of it was heartfelt, that part.
Yeah, well, yeah, I guess my family has played the characters in the book are all actually existing right now, and my daughter was the first one to leave the nest, so to say. And yeah, it was an emotional time, but I'm not one of those helicopter mothers who would just, like, just kind of go into some sort of a tizzy and say, oh, I'm missing her so much, and call her every day, or I still don't call her every day. So, yeah, I think we were very normal with her departure, though we missed her. And her leaving the nest, considering that she was the first girl from this family who was going abroad to study, um, which is nothing unheard of. But when you're coming from a conservative joint family, it's a big step, and it was a big step not for me, because it came very naturally to me as a mother to push my girls to just explore the world, to take wings and fly and all of that. And the reason why I wrote this book was also that I wanted to do it for both my daughters. So the passion that you're reading is more the woman speaking about another woman finding herself and stepping out into the big bad world to embark on a journey and never look back. So I think that is the overriding emotion, and not so much of a parent um, seeing her daughter go. It was more from one woman to another. That, and Sakshi understands that very well. And she hasn't, by the way, it's been 13 years, she has not come back.
Wow.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Okay. That's like
So
and
I'm constantly cooking for her and her colleagues and her team, and yeah, it's nothing changes.
a question has come up, and perhaps we can take it. Devika is saying the book effort contains recipes also. Where did you get those recipes from? Are they your own or inspired by someone else? And I mean, obviously, she hasn't read the book, so I suppose she's gathering it from, yeah.
No problem. The recipes, some of them are my own, some I learned from my mother, some I learned from my mother-in-law. Some were actually learned when I was researching on food traditions. So I learned a lot while I was traveling, whether it was inside Rajasthan or anywhere else in the world. Anything I liked or caught my fancy, and I was fascinated by the cooking process, or just the taste and the the fusion of ingredients, I would just walk up to people and start talking to them and take copious notes. Whether उस टाइम स्मार्टफोन्स ऐसे नहीं होते थे कि we had notes that we could, so
Huh.
I used to write on tissue papers, on restaurant napkins, wherever I could, or whatever, and stash them all up and then sit down with them every few days and transcribe them on my laptop and then figure how to fit them into my book. A lot of recipes were actually left out because I wanted to also keep the book very tight.
Right.
So
Otherwise, a book like this could have kind of, go on to perhaps more than 300 pages. It could easily have gone more than that, but
for people,
yeah,
always
totally.
more.
Yes. In the F word, there's this really interesting part which I really loved. You say that there is something deeply sensuous about the aromas that rise as masalas roast. And I always inhale deeply as cloves combined with nutmeg send out their warm, woody vapors, clearing the nostrils. Cardamom smoke gently curling around whiffs of delicate javitri, seducing and teasing. Besan turning shades of gold on the black tawa as you swiftly stir to keep it from burning into a chocolate hue. This is so beautiful, when we are cooking, it's first of all, it's a job done awesomely, and because it's such a basic thing, and isn't it? I mean, I suppose it's the job of a writer to kind of do this, but to do it very organically, what do you think it takes, to kind of do this? Because you are a consultant as well, this must be happening like all the time with you.
See, one, I don't do things that I don't like doing, period.
Okay.
So if I'm doing something in the kitchen, it's there because I am 100% fully there with my heart. While my mind is telling me scientifically how to measure things and all of that. And sometimes you're cooking with andas. So it's just about giving of yourself completely. Frankly speaking, if I was to write that passage all over again, the editor and me is rejecting it completely right now and saying, "Oh my God, what terrible writing! I should do this again." I would have probably made it very sparse and not so flowery and descriptive, because that kind of writing, I think, in my mind is now passé. Maybe it appeals to a certain school of people. It doesn't appeal to me anymore. Um, but yeah, I just enjoyed, and I still do like that.
I think,
You know,
I think,
the
I think,
batter kind of folds, and it's the once you're reaching the end of your beating it up, and it starts glistening and it starts making those ripples. It is just so satisfying to see. So I don't know that feeling. I just get very happy, And when I'm certainly like, when I'm watching the cake rise, and you can actually see that it's a chemical reaction, but for me, it's a very sensuous thing to just see it rise, and I feel that, it's rising well. It's the dome is coming out well, it's not cracking, it's perfectly colored, and all of that. There are times when I just stand in front of my oven and watch the whole process. I don't mind. That's not a waste of time for me. I enjoy it. And I don't get tired. I've been cooking for, I guess, over 3 decades now. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the passion was like very obvious. I mean, go like reading 10 odd pages, I could figure that out, and this is going to be some right. But let's go talk about this one, Chillies and Porridge, because it has got essays from other people, which is very interesting because you could have easily written another book with a lot of experiences that you have had. There's one particular story, an essay, which was very interesting for me. The one by Rocky and Mayur, the Food Wicket, and because it had so much of nostalgia. I mean, we are based out of Doon, and it almost read like the good old Rusty, by Bond, Mr. Bond, and it was so nostalgic. Tell us a bit more about this book, because it seems like very easy for people, ki chalo, there is this compilation of essays. We'll just bring it together and a book will happen.
Chilies and Porridge, actually, yes, you're right. I could have easily written another book.
Yeah.
I was actually working on another book idea. I started researching for it, and it was just one of those conversations. I was in Delhi again, sitting with my editor, Kartika. It was during that time only when she was with HarperCollins, and I was there for a meeting as a literary agent as well, and I was discussing a lot of books with her. And then this discussion kind of took a direction where need for food writing and to seeing more of food writing happening in our country, more and more exploration of our food traditions, of memory, of nostalgia, and the very exhausting diversity we have in our cuisine. From, if you look at the entire country, it's impossible, like, and the lack of enough food writing kind of brought this discussion up. So the idea came up that, why don't we do an anthology? Because the last anthology that had been done, which I still go back to, these two books that I go back to, is Nilanjana Roy's anthology.
Yes.
On food writing, which was my go-to book for any kind of reference, and the other one was done by Oxford University Press. That was also a beautiful anthology on food writing. And after that, no anthologies had come out. So this idea came up that let's just do like a contemporary version of it. And then I got in touch. Like, I sat and thought about all the contributors, made lists, reached out to them. All these people agreed. Like, it just came together. So I acted as the editor for that anthology, and we put all these essays together. And I still remember when the final proofs came to me. I was on bed rest, recovering from a major surgery, and in that condition I was doing the proofing and
Wow.
approving of the last draft, because we were also wanting to launch the book in time, so I couldn't have delayed the process. But yeah, it was fun.
And
everyone came together with so much of commitment. Like, if you see each of the essays, you can see the passion and dedication with which the essays have been done. So my job as editor was really.
I was really surprised. Sorry to cut you off. I was really surprised because even the first essay, the one about porridge by Janice, is just right there. I would never imagine reading about porridge in this way. To be honest, I mean, I don't know. I may be a novice, but it was just beautiful the way she has kind of yeah.
Janice actually has that writing style also. The way she responds to every element.
Yeah.
Natural. If you look at her Instagram posts also, they're poetic in their own way. So that's why we chose to begin the book with that essay. It's also because porridge first thing in the morning, it's a good start for the book also.
Yes.
So yeah, it was well done.
So there is a huge debate on Twitter, and I read this book by Krish Ashok, I think a couple of years back during the pandemic, called Masala Lab. And he
Yeah.
talks about science a lot, about the science of food and cooking. What's your take on that? Because here I saw obviously there's science, but a lot of art also, was very obvious. Where there's a hit and trial method, and but so there are these two books which I've read in a couple of years span, and I'm like, okay, where do I go?
No, actually, you have to take the best of both because I
Oh,
agree with Krish. The science behind the cooking of every dish is a very very relevant. Um, what do you say? It's very relevant in every sense because there's a certain reason why a particular recipe works the way it does. There's a certain reason why each ingredient is added to it. It's not just for the flavor, but each ingredient is there to perform a function, you know, and that itself is based very on science. So I'm so glad Krish wrote that book because, and as I said, our food writing in India is like we haven't even skimmed the surface. So that was a very valuable contribution. And you need to see, I respond to food very differently. Krish has taken a very analytical point of view to it, which is great because we need both perspectives, you know. So you can't deny the science at all. In fact, that's a very, that's the foundation on which we are resting.
right.
Art शायद बाद में आएगा.
Ah. Yeah. So there's this part in the F word where you go into this, you get married, and you enter this new home, Punjabi home, and you see mutton curries on like featuring on every dinner, so, and then kind of, and this is something. And I was like, is she talking about our place? I mean, is this our household? Because we also, fight with this. Because wherever there are children, you have to take care of health. And at the same time, kind of, do a balancing act. So tell us a little bit about that, because that must have been something. Mutton curries every dinner. Goodness.
Yeah, I was horrified when I walked into this house. I mean, I knew what I was getting into because I was in and out of the house even before during my engagement period. And it took some time for me to turn them and make them realize that it's not healthy. So, from mutton curry, I brought them down to chicken, a bit of fish, because fish is not so easily available in Jaipur. I mean, those days it wasn't. And for them, a vegetarian dinner was an anathema. It was just literally, they would sit down on the table and say, आज सिर्फ ये है, अच्छा अचार निकाल दो. I'm just like, why can't you just eat? So I kept reducing the frequency, but the challenge for me was to make sure that I cooked something different every time to win them over to understanding that there's better food than just mutton curry. I didn't have
Right.
anything against mutton. I mean, I love cooking mutton dishes. I cook them very often still, but also I'm a doctor's daughter, so health and fitness were something that were paramount in my consciousness. So to get them to understand that was yeah, but like now it's been over 25. I've been married 33 years, but it's been over, I think, 20 or 25, 27 years that I managed to make them eat vegetarian meals for at least 4 to 5 times a week. Yeah, but then it made me also experiment, and I rose up to the challenge, and I was
Wow.
making everything at home. So I've made lasagna from scratch. I made raviolis myself. It took hours of standing in the kitchen and doing everything just to make them understand that it's not just about eating meat every day.
But that must be a task. I
And
was reading
salad for them. My God.
salads. I was coming to salads only. Sultans of Swing, and this part which was amazing. Just salads for dinner is a frequent to do on my list. Rustling up a salad is like painting, playing around with splashes of color, mixing textures, balancing flavors. To be able to make a good salad is to be a brilliant diplomat. The problem is entirely the same in both cases, to know how much oil to put with one's vinegar. This was like, I mean, it takes a lot to make a salad because not everybody can do it well. I mean, mostly we end up with something which not many people appreciate. It's a tough task.
I think more than tough, it's a very delicate bringing together of the right kind of dressing. Whether
Yeah,
it's a simple vinaigrette and or a fruit paste dressing, or maybe just an olive oil and a balsamic thrown in.
yeah,
But I always say that even for a salad dressing, less is more. Just just go simple, basic, let the flavors get enhanced. You build your salad properly, and don't overdo the dressing part. Like just put little of what is needed and coat it properly, but don't overdo it.
right. So
So,
Poetry.chef is saying that food writing is an exploration. It's not a question, but a comment. Food writing is an exploration of cultural memories and sensuality within domestic spaces. Very interesting. So,
I agree. Whole thing, there's a lot of sociology in this, if you see, because when you're writing about food, you're writing about a culture and your entire societal conditioning, what you've grown up with, what you've explored as an adult, what you kind of hark back to.
yeah,
It, it is an actual exercise in sociology if you really look at it.
yeah. And had loads of fun, reading both the books, different and very interesting. A lot of other writers I haven't talked about. I mean, there is Wendell Rodrigues, who is no more with us, but there's so many essays which people need to kind of go. Guys, buy the book from Amazon. Leave a review. Tell us on social media how you love the book, and it's going to be the. And also, these books are not like you have read it once and then you can't go back to it, because there are recipes also, so it's very interesting. I always recommend books about food now, for I don't know, for obvious reasons. I mean, I I am struggling to kind of maintain everything, the weight, and you have to be careful about that as well. But okay, I really wanted to talk about final question, and you know, you are the literary director for the JCB Prize. There's the literary consultancy as well. What are the things that you are excited about? Coming in, say, couple of in the coming years. Now, how writing is changing. A little bit about that, especially in the food space, perhaps. Is there change there?
Yes, there is. Thank God for that. See, what's happening is that a lot more people are experimenting with writing about food. So you've seen an explosion on Instagram, you've seen an explosion of food blogs, which is fantastic. And a lot of these good food bloggers have been picked up to do books, which is great. And a lot of concentration is now happening, a lot of regional cuisine writing is happening. Whether it's from the south or from Orissa or from Bengal or from the Saraswat region in Maharashtra, or it's Kachi food. A lot of writers are coming forward with their food traditions as proper books. And what is even more heartening is that publishers are taking them on. So it's like this whole khazana is opening up for us, and it just makes me so happy. Like the moment I know of a food book coming out, I'm the first one to get on a pre-order, or if I hear about it, I will send a message to my office directly. By please order kar do. At least that way, I just do
Sam,
it straight away because
tell it.
I won't remember otherwise that I have to order that
Ah,
book. So just kind of send a
ma'am,
message immediately.
would need some recommendations from you, perhaps a couple, and perhaps I can also mention one or two for everybody who's watching. Of course, both the books they have to read your books, but other than that, any recommendations, recent ones?
Actually, yeah, well, there are too many. I'm actually looking at my. Um, there are so
I hope you.
many.
I hope you will not offend the other authors.
No, no, come on. I'm sure everyone will take it in the right spirit. But I'm actually looking for this beautiful book which came out on. I can't seem to find it. I'm so sorry. But off
Just,
the
just
cuff, I'm actually reread a favorite book of mine, which is uh, I'm a I'm a big follower of Peter Mile and his books. So A Year in Provence, I was
one.
rereading it and I was just going like I was laughing throughout. And there's a book on Saraswat cooking that is one of the older books. There's oh well,
Yeah.
I read a lot of international food writers as well. So there is this book called White Truffles in Winter
Okay.
by N.M. Kelby, which is fantastic. Then, of course, you have Ruth Rachel's books. The last one I've read all of her books.
Yeah.
So,
There's one thing, ma'am, we forgot entirely. Obviously, we can come back to the recommendations, but how do you find, good food now? Because there's a lot of technology. I've read in the book that, you know of a lot of places, perhaps by word of mouth or just exploring in general. What is your process now? For example, in Delhi, let's talk about Delhi only. Delhi में आप कहाँ जाओगे? Like the top three places, because I'm also going to Delhi after 10 days. So I will visit those.
Delhi, the one place I'd like to go back to is the Tangra project. I really like what they're doing.
Okay, where is this one?
Uh, it's one of these malls
Okay.
in Saket,
Okay.
and I'm also looking
For,
forward to exploring Korean
Jap-
places in Delhi.
for
Sorry.
Japanese. For Japanese, do you recommend anything?
Japanese, well, wasabi is there at the Taj and Megu's there at the Leela.
Yeah.
Post-pandemic, I don't know what their menus are, but I'm definitely going to look at them.
Okay.
But there are lots of nice Korean food joints that have opened up. A couple in Delhi. I can't remember the names, but yeah. Um, it's too hot also right now.
I know
I'm just thinking.
it is.
But
Is
one of the things I like doing in Delhi is I like ordering my baked goods with Paris My Love,
okay,
and they only take it on order, and you have to just collect.
right.
But Paris My Love happens to be my favorite boulangeries. Like they are fantastic with everything they do, and the Big Chill Cakery is still a favorite. Like I will indulge in a pastry and a coffee there, even in spite of the fact that I don't need the calories. But if I find time between my meetings, then yes.
Right. And, since Book Nerds is based out of Doon, so I have to ask you about Pahadi food as well. First of all, have you been to Doon? And of course, Garhwal, the Kumaon Hills. Any favorite of yours here? Any memory?
I've
Any
been
is
to
here?
Dehradun or Mussoorie for that matter.
Okay.
Uh, I've done the usual rounds of all the other hill stations in the past, but not of late. I've
Okay.
just come back from Marybudden Estate,
Okay.
which is a little ahead in Binsar,
Uh-huh.
and really enjoyed the Kumaoni food that they made us taste. Very home style, very, very rooted. In fact, we had food in one of the villages also. I just loved what they did with their mustard raita and the aloo, the Pahadi aloo that they make, and the bhang ka chutney and
Patod,
uh,
patod
the
there.
the the ghat ki dal.
Yes, yes,
Uh,
yes, yes.
Amazing. I just loved each and every flavor and really enjoyed myself. And the moment we reached the Marybudden estate, I told them, I said, don't give me continental food, please. I'm not here to eat that. Give me what you will eat. So I literally called the chef and I said, आप जो घर में खाते हैं बनाकर वो मुझे खिला दो प्लीज मुझे
Uh,
यहाँ पे क्रेप्स और सैंडविचेस मेरे को नहीं चाहिए मुझे
uh,
फ्राई अंडा चाहिए मेरे को देसी खाना चाहिए because And we were trekking every day, so obviously there was huge appetite. We were eating even their rice, the local rice, the way they cook it, even that, just have it just like that for the simple flavor. Or even the way they were making their rotis and uh, insisting कि घी लगा के फिर गुड़ में
uh,
wrap करके खाओ.
uh,
It was beautiful. I loved it. And I've had Kuban food at my friends' places, and um, I've always loved it.
wonderful. You
But
must
there,
have
though, I still have to explore.
okay, okay. You must have the pator. You come this side. I mean Garhwal or whatever, and you should try that. It is amazing. And I have many more recommendations from Garhwal, but that will take another live session. But thank you so much, ma'am, for doing this. It was amazing speaking to you. We are huge fans of your work.
So much.
I don't know. Yeah, and the moment we kind of decided that we're going to spread the word of reading, we were looking at only one website, that was Siyahi, and all the time what great work is happening. And I'm sounding like a fanboy now, but it is like
But
that. Have
that means
kind
a lot to me. Any kind of education is what I call is my actual reward and earning. It's the goodwill that Siyahi has, because we are really a bunch of mad people just committed to working with our authors. And I hope the madness just continues. It's the only reason why I won't say the only reason, but it's where I get my identity from. My work is my identity.
and you have, I mean, at least you have inspired our team, so I'm very happy about that. Thank you so much. We'll have to conclude the session. I think we were getting another question in the this thing, but I think we have gone overboard with the time. And yeah, guys, so thank you so much, ma'am. Wonderful reading the books, guys. Pick up both the books and leave your reviews. They are on Amazon, available on Amazon. And if you by any chance don't get it on Amazon, just DM us. We'll find a way to find a copy for you.
Just write to me, I'll make sure that you get your copies.
Awesome. Thank you so much, ma'am, and looking forward to so much more from you. Perhaps another, another the F word, perhaps a sequel. Why
More
not?
people. I think I'll work on another book very soon, but
Thank you. Thank you so much for doing this.
for having me. Thank you.
Thank you.